your statement, when you think of blacks, what do you think of? And her comment was to me, drugs and illiteracy. And I said, really? So I went to me, because I'm black, and you in here getting your hair done by me, so I can stand and defend this. I said, I'm not on drugs. I'm black, and I'm definitely not illiterate. And she says, well, you went to the defense. I said, no, I'm making a statement based on your statement. And of course, she didn't like my response. So she says, so her answer to me again was, well, blacks never contributed anything to society. I said, I said, well, since you feel that way, next time you step out there on the street, don't use the traffic lights. Quit wearing your shoes. I said, and when you leave here, don't go up on the elevator. Matter of fact, don't even go use the toilet. Okay, so she went on to talk and say how that she had been a librarian for years. Most of her career had been a librarian. And she, in all her reading, I said, well, you have to read so many books a year, don't you? She said, yes. I said, so I take it you didn't read any. I never read anything about it. I said, oh. So then that's when I told her, I said, well, evidently you didn't do much reading. I said, because we did a lot. And I began to name things. And she says, oh, you're well versed in what you know. Yes. And I let it go. And rather than, retaliate with an attitude and I stated what I knew. Okay. And so she went away to the Holy Lands. Now, mind you, I don't know all that she saw when she got over there, but I know she got a rude awakening based on what I know. Okay? And when she came back, her response was to me, I'm getting ready to transfer back to New Jersey. She said, but I just wanted to come down and give you a hug. And I'm so glad we crossed paths. Okay? So why am I saying this? Stereotyping, stigmatizing, myths, all these things about what we don't do and what we can't. So because of us being African American, we should have more compassion when it comes to dealing with one another or someone that has a mental illness, because we know what it is to be stigmatized. We know what it is to have a lot of myths pointed at us rather than being dealt with as an individual. And I say again, anyone that has a mental illness, we have to remember they have a personality outside of whatever that mental thing that they're going through with, just like we do. And I've had some good times with those that I've encountered that have had a mental illness. So to take away from, to go and say all these things that we have been hearing over the years, I'm very grateful that we're having an opportunity to find out that for all of you all that are here today, to let you know this is a overcoming session. It's an enlightening session. It's an encouraging session to let you know from this point on, you can have a better hope about what you're dealing with, and know that you're not alone in whatever it is that you're going through, that others have overcome, and you too can overcome whatever it is. The other one is always a result of demonic influence. Again, that is a myth. That is an absolute lie. Now, mind you, we recognize and do understand that illnesses and diseases and things came into existence because of the fall of man. Okay? And God had already told us in His Word, that I know my thoughts of you, thoughts of peace and not of evil, to give you an expected end. So in the midst of all that, as I said before, we're dealing with two forces. We're dealing with God and we're dealing with Satan. Now, Satan's going to attack us in whatever way that he can. Now, in the midst of someone going through, and I can say this on a personal basis, having gone through some physical ailments and things, he will bring thoughts. He'll bring ideas. You're never going to get, he'll tell stuff like, you're never going to get over this, They don't know how to help you. Okay? Now, he does that with people that don't have a mental illness. I don't think I have one. So, but, these are some of the things that the thoughts that will come when you're in the midst of the situation that you're going through. But I'm here to say to you, no, it is not demonic. Okay? Again, I use that same scripture out of Psalms 34. Many are the afflictions of the righteous, but the Lord delivered them out of them all. I heard someone put it this way: many has a number to it. Okay? All has no limit. So just like God can deliver from anything else, he can deliver even in this. But in the midst of it, and I've said this to many that was going through it, I'm going to use this, I keep using these two because they are very prominent: diabetes and high blood pressure. And people I've seen praying, Lord, deliver me from my high blood pressure. God, I want to get off this diabetes. But then they won't eat right. They won't take their medicine. They won't exercise. And don't want anybody to help them. Same thing with this, with a mental illness. You've got to be willing to allow someone to help you in the midst of whatever it is. And yeah, your defenses may be up, especially if you're not ready for the help that's out there for you in the midst of it. He also let us know that the thief come not but for to steal, kill, and to destroy. But God have come that you can have life and have it more abundantly. That means there's no end to it. If you allow him to be God in the midst of this, going through the mental illness, and you may have to pray, God, give me wisdom. God, give me the more dedication to taking my medicines. I don't like taking medicines. So I can understand you're not wanting to take medicines, okay? But you have to decide, do I want to live a better life than what I'm living? I realize that he's already told us that thou hast no healing medicines. We're not looking for the medicine to be a cure-all. That's not what I mean. But it's a substance to be able to help you to balance why you believe in God, to bring you through this. And let him teach you how. He said, if any man lack wisdom, let master of God that give liberty and upbraideth not. So what am I saying? Let God give you wisdom how to overcome in the midst of what it was. Now, I asked God about someone that I knew that I was related to and involved with that was dealing with schizophrenia. I said, God, what happened? I've been praying. I've been asking you to put people in their midst that could help them far beyond what I could do, and to give them, different things and whatever. And he reminded me of something. He literally had me talk to someone at Veterans, and he told me, he said, you got to leave them alone right now. He said, because we're here. The help is here. We're doing everything that we can. But they will not allow us to help them the way they need to be helped. They want the help, but they want it on, keywords, their terms. Okay? So that's why it wasn't working. So it's not that the help is not there. If the help was not there, we wouldn't be here today to be able to give you the pamphlets and give you the words of encouragement, to give you some new hope in what you're going through. Help is here. But you got to make it up in your mind, I'm willing to do whatever it takes for me to overcome this that I'm going through. Always a sign that a person is not praying. But remember, prayer is not just coming to God and asking him for things. Rather, it's an opportunity to build a relationship with God and to obtain his thoughts concerning a particular matter. Now, he's already let us know that he is our refuge and he's our strength. He's our very present help in trouble. And that he would never leave us nor forsake us. He's with us always. So he's there. God is available to you. He's just waiting on you. And you say, well, if he's such a great God, why don't he just go ahead and do this? Well, when we grew up as parents, our parents knew that there were going to be times that we were going to be hungry. So they did what? What we needed to satisfy the hunger, they already had there. But they didn't know always what time. I might think you might need to eat at 12 o'clock. But at 12 o'clock, you might not want anything to eat. So I had to learn to know. I might think you need a big plate of food. But you may not be able to eat no more than half of that. But it was learning that, knowing that. So God knows already what we need. So we waited for what? We knew that our children was going to get thirsty and need water. We know they need H2O. But we couldn't just ram it down their throat. And we loved them enough. They said, Mommy, I'm thirsty. Mommy, then we would give it to them. Well, God is greater than that. He's there. He's already available. He's waiting on us. And it's not that he can't do it. Just go ahead and do it. But where would the relationship be? Where would my appreciation of him be? Where would my real love for the Lord be if he just gave it to me just because he know I need it? I'd never have one. And I would take him for granted. So it's in building my relationship. It's in having prayer time. It's in learning to trust him, to know that the greatest love that I can ever have in the midst of whatever it is that I'm going through is the Lord Jesus himself. He's not slack. He's concerning any of his promises toward us. He's available 24/7. You know, I might call my friends, and then the phone might not maybe get my voicemail, okay? Or I'm busy, I need to call you back now. Like, oh God, that's her number. She won't talk again. Okay? God's not like that. But I don't know that if I don't spend any time with him. And in my spending time, it takes communications. Okay? It's not, I hear people say all the time, well, I talk to God. That's okay. I said, but are you giving God a chance to talk to you? Are you listening for him? And he may not, you're looking for this audible voice. It may not be that he may use, and I'm going to use you two as example. You praying to God and seeking the Lord for something. He might use Sister Arnetta to give you an answer. But because I'm not tuned in, because you're not tuned in, you see Arnetta. But you don't see that it's God that's using Arnetta. You say, Lord, help me to get to that place that you want me to move to the purpose that you have for my life. And he might come and have her, come on here, come, girl, come on, I know you can do this. You know, and she pushing you, and you saying, leave me alone, I don't want to be bothered. And the Lord said, I send the help. I send you your encouragement. I send you strength. I send you somebody with the wisdom to help you move the way you want to, that I want you to go. But you're fighting against it. And this is what we do. We, as human beings, all of us, with a mental illness, without a mental illness, we fight. We not always say it, but we fight. Let me see. Their recovery, because they refuse to deny that they have a mental illness, because they finally come to the place of acceptance. Yes, this is what's going on, and I'm waiting to believe God to bring me. But while in my waiting time, I'm going to do what God has for me to do. I'm going to stay faithful in what I know. I'm going to keep going to my support groups. I'm going to keep going to my counseling. I don't always like to go, but I'm going to keep doing it. I'm going to get dedicated to what? So that I can live that abundant life that God has been talking about. He said I would.
We have all kind of terms for it. People call it nervous breakdown. People call it, I feel like I'm going crazy. Feel like I'm out of it. I feel like I'm quote unquote touched. What other terms has people heard?
Elevator don't go to the top.
Okay, elevator don't go to the top. All of these little sayings that people have to describe a mental illness. But again, going back to the stigma. Because when a person has cancer, we don't say, get cancer, stick Charlie, right? Because that would be mean. We don't say, I don't know, what could you say, something derogatory about cancer? Oh, he has cancer, blah, 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 blah. I mean, we don't make jokes about it.
You didn't do what God told you to do.
Right. When a person has cancer, we don't make jokes about cancer. We don't make jokes about diabetes. We don't make jokes about any other disease. But we do it when it comes to mental illness. And part of it is because it goes back to the myths. People not really understanding mental illnesses are brain illnesses. That's what we're talking about. We're not talking about something that a person has a control over. This is not saying that the person can just snap out of it. Because if you could snap out of it, we would snap out of it. So when we talk about what are mental illnesses, first thing I want to point out are health conditions. It's important to remember mental illnesses, we're talking about health conditions. About brain illnesses. You know, when we kind of make a separation between body being sick and the brain being sick. But we know now that it's all one. So when we talk about the brain being sick, we are in fact talking about the body. Because the brain is part of the body, right? We're not talking about the mind, we're talking about the brain itself. So when we look at, I put a couple of definitions here. A health condition that is characterized by alterations in thinking, mood, or behavior, or some combination thereof, which is associated with distress and or impaired functioning. And I have a few examples here. We look at Alzheimer's as a disease of the brain. In thinking, okay? We look at depression. It's a disease of the brain. Depression mostly affects our mood. Schizophrenia mostly, again, affects our thinking. Another definition, mental illnesses are disorders of the brain that disrupt a person's thinking, feeling, moods, and ability to relate to others. So when we look at the brain, when we look at research, we can actually see the changes. Right? So the question is, how does the brain get sick? How does the brain get sick? How do we get a mental illness? Okay. First of all, it's important to remember that all human behaviors emanate from the brain. The brain is the control tower. I think we got that, right? We understand that. Chemical imbalances in the brain cause the brain to misinterpret information. And I just want to emphasize again, mental illnesses are brain illnesses, okay? Because this is kind of a new thing, maybe not for some of us in the room, but over the last 10, 15, 20 years, we're seeing more and more that the brain can become sick. That when we talk about mental illnesses, we're talking about brain illnesses. Maybe when I was growing up 70 years ago, we didn't have that. We didn't have that kind of information. We didn't know back then what we know now. Yeah, 70 years ago. I know I look good for 75. Okay. So we look at what causes the brain to be sick. What causes the brain to become ill? From a spiritual standpoint, we know about Adam and Eve, and we know about how when sin entered the world and brought with it all diseases, right? But when we look at the brain becoming sick, it's important to remember that there's no one exact cause why the brain became sick. It's usually a combination of biological, psychological, and social cultural factors. And the brain mediates all of this. I think it's important to realize that, yes, we have genes that make us who we are, but the brain, the genes, they change depending on our experiences through life. So the brain is not stagnant. It's forever growing. It's always changing, which is something to remember. Now, and I just broke it down here. We're looking at biological causes. Again, it's important to remember it's usually a combination. So just because I may have a biological predisposition, let's just say to having a mood disorder, that doesn't mean I'm going to get it because my mother has a mood disorder or my father has a mood disorder. Okay, it's not automatic because it's a combination. It's not just the biological. It's everything kind of coming together. Hormones, physical illnesses, infectious disease, syphilis can cause diseases, hereditary, psychological, like I said, the social culture. When we look at the biological, the brain is made up of nerve cells called neurons, and you have this in your packets. I don't want to go over it, but it's important to look at chemical balance in the brain can cause deficiencies. The medications help to regulate those chemical imbalances that are in the brain. Okay. How are mental illnesses diagnosed? First of all, mental illnesses, unlike cancer, unlike heart disease, there's not one particular test that you can go to and then doctor will do a test and he'll say, okay, this is what you have, or she'll say, this is what you have. When we diagnose mental illnesses, first it usually starts with somebody asking you questions. How are you doing? What's going on? So we kind of write down your symptoms, your signs, what you're saying. It's also important, and I encourage people, is that if you're feeling depressed or you're feeling down and you happen to go to a doctor, it's important that that doctor also do a physical on you as well. Because when you look at, it could be, anemia. It could be other things going on with you. So it's important that that doctor does a really good physical on you as well. Even if you go to the emergency room, they'll usually do labs or they try to do some kind of test to make sure there's